Okay, so we're here with David and Ericka Evans talking about Rollers of the Realm. So first off, just tell us about the game.
The game is a mashup between a pinball and role-playing games. And essentially we sat down and said, what can we do very quickly as a sort of a prototype very early on? And we looked at this game called Pinball Quest, which is an old NES game. We thought, why don't we do this? And then things just rolled from there. Excuse the pun. But we basically realized that there's a lot of really cool connections between pinball mechanics and RPG convention. And the ball size, for example, that's the size of a character, changes to how defensive a character is, less likely to sewer. And we just started thinking of all these different things we could do, and it just kind of went from there.
How did you guys decide on the actual story and the characters?
The story came from, again, our approach was to take something, to start in a fairly comfortable place in RPG, so it's fantasy set in a medieval world. But we very quickly, I'm the writer of the game, I kind of wanted to do something that was a little more tongue-in-cheek, a little more Monty Python-esque, not so much high fantasy, and we just thought it worked better for something that was a pinball mashup. I don't know why, it just felt right.
One of the nice things that happened through development is we ended up with the actual mechanics of the game influencing the story early on. One of our lead programmer at the time came up with this kind of drunken wobble for one of the pinballs, and it was so much fun, like to have this pinball have this wonky physics that Dave was able to write it into the story. So our knight now has a bit of a drunken wobble to him that, as you play through, you can upgrade him and actually lose that and make him a much stronger character.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, so what systems is it going to be available for that you know of so far?
Yeah, we're going to be on PC definitely. We're looking at other ways to distribute. Right now, the consoles are opening up for indies, which is really awesome. We're really hoping that we'll be there soon. We're probably not going to be launching until the spring of 2014, so we'll be seeing what's available to us then.
So what do you think is going to be the thing that really appeals to pinball players the most?
Well, first of all, we decided that we weren't going to try to make a pinball table simulator. So one of our initial worries is that we wouldn't be able to appeal to pinball players. But it seems as though, if this is, by the way, made in Unity, the package physics in Unity was pretty good. And so far, we're getting a lot of positive feedback from the Unity from hardcore people, self-proclaimed hardcore pinball players. And I think it'll be the same thing that anybody would appreciate about the game, is that we've taken things that you're used to, the nostalgic elements of pinball, the familiar elements of pinball, and I think people will enjoy seeing how we've made all these, connected them all to different aspects of role-playing games. And I think that's across the board, that's what's the most appealing.
Did you guys play a lot of pinball to get ready for it?
Well, me personally, I wasn't like a traditional pinball fan, but I love digital pinball. I think I just like my quarters better when I was a kid to keep them. But Zen Pinball was a great game to give us real digital pinball feel. Since we've actually been in development, there's been a great game by a great developer, Momanga. Your character is a little flying squirrel, which is a lot of fun. So we've been able to see other games that have come out in the digital pinball landscape. That said, one of our main programmers on there, our lead programmer Chris, he's got, I think, 3 tables in his basement.
Awesome.
So we definitely have we're a mix of digital pinball fans and traditional. Yeah.
Okay, so for casual gamers, how easy would you say it would be for them to just get right in and start playing?
Well, the nice thing about it being pinball is there's a pick up and play aspect to that. Nobody really needs to be instructed on how to play pinball, right?
Yeah.
And one of the biggest tricks for us was to take a game that actually is pretty hard to control, and alter the physics and the setup slightly to make it easier. But that's been a big thing that we've had to sort of work through, and that's also why we try to get as many people playing this game as possible. And this IndieCade thing's been awesome, just watching different people play. Some people get things right away and just breeze through things, and other people it's a little bit more difficult. But that's where the balancing is going to come in. But I think once you get the hang of it, it's got a little bit of a steep learning curve. I think it'll be fine. It'll be great.
What was the hardest thing about making it?
That was probably the hardest thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's trying to balance it for casual gamers, because we do want there to be a nice through line for the game where people who at least are familiar with pinball can go through and play and not get frustrated. And at the same time, we have sort of optional things you can do, side rooms, and a certain amount of replay that will challenge people who are really good pinball players. But that's going to be the trickiest thing is moving forward.
And where can people go to learn more about it?
You can go to rollersoftherealm.com. We've also got a Facebook page, and you can follow us on Twitter.
Awesome. So just tell us a little bit about the characters and the dynamics of the different balls.
Sure. Basically, all the different balls have different characteristics, which also feeds into the story of the different characters and their character arcs. But everything is pretty much analogous to something in the world of pinball mechanics. For example, ball size is analogous to defensive abilities. The larger the ball, the less likely it is to sewer. It's also going to be a little bit heavier, won't fit through spaces properly. So you can imagine the heaviest, most defensive character is this big knight in armor, but of course he's not going to be able to nudge around the board as easily, not be able to fit in spots. And we've worked that all into the mechanics of play. On the other side, our rogue character is lighter, smaller, and basically dexterity is analogous to your ability to nudge, which is classically tilt in pinball, but there's no penalty for tilt in our game. You can freely nudge this character around, and that's also all the upgrades feed into those things. You can make her nudge better, you can give her better damage. She also has some characters, including her, have an ability to do extra damage from behind, so it's like a stealth mechanic. We have ranged attacks. The ranger, or hunter in the case of our game, has an arrow he shoots, so he can affect or attack more enemies. And we have a damage over time character who fights with flaming swords, and when he hits enemies, they are set on fire, and you can pull damage over time on them. We've got AoE characters that throw Molotov cocktails and they explode.
We've got a lot of characters.
We've got a lot, and there's a lot of different mechanics we fed into it. Balancing between RPGs and pinball.
Very cool. Okay, well, thank you guys so much for taking the time to talk with us.
You're welcome.
So, Rollers of the Realm.
Yeah, and we've also got a Steam Greenlight campaign, so you can find us there as well.
Awesome. Great. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.